So we're going to go over some of your questions on your Spring Algebra 1 final review. We're not going to do all of them. We're going to kind of bounce around here and there, but here are some questions you're going to see. And I might not solve all of them, but I will help you set up some as well, so we'll go there. So number 1, this is exponent rules. So we're just going to multiply. So when I multiply, I do 24 times 6, or sorry, 4 times 6, which is 24. And when I multiply, I add my exponents. So 5 plus 6 is 11. 3x to the 4th. Good. And then we just divide. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. And then when I divide, I subtract my exponents. So 11 minus 4 would be x to the 7th. That's it. Done. 2 is domain. So remember, domain is your x's. So if I look here, the furthest left this graph goes is right here, which is at -2. And then remember, the symbols are always like this, and because we have a closed circle, it has a line underneath it. And then over here we also have a closed circle, and the furthest right this graph goes is +2. So -2 to +2. Alright? On 3, it's just asking for where the lines cross, so I'm not going to do it for you, but find where the lines cross, the x value, that's what you're looking for. Number 5, or sorry, that's 3, and then we have 4 here. The area of a rectangle is 2x squared plus 11x plus 15, and the width is x plus 3. What expression best describes the rectangle's length? A couple ways you can do that. One way you can do it is just to factor this. Okay, so you could do SFFP. My sum is the middle number, which is 11, and the product is the first times the last. So 2 times 15 is 30. What numbers multiply to 30 but add or subtract to 11? Well, that's just 6 and 5. So then I factor it, so 2x squared plus 6x plus, sorry, that's not 5, plus 5x plus 15. And then we take out our greatest common factors because we're going to factor by grouping. The greatest common factor between 2 and 6 is 2x, and then we divide. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so just x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. The greatest common factor between 5 and 15 is a +5. 5 divided by 5 is just 1, so x. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Good. So then you can see our common factors are 2x plus 5 and x plus 3. Well, they already gave us x plus 3 as one of them, so then my answer is just 2x plus 5. Now, if this was multiple choice, like your test is going to be, then you could also do like your answer choices and just multiply these two things together using FOIL or double distribution and see which one works. That's perfectly fine. I'm not going to solve 5 for you all the way out. I'm just going to set it up for you though. If x comma 3 is a solution to the equation, what is the value of x? So all I know is that 3 is y. So 4x plus 2 times 3 equals 22. And then just multiply and solve it. Just solving an equation. Okay? Number 6, I'm also not going to do 100% for you, but I'm going to show you. What expression best represents the area of a square? So a square means both sides are the same. An area of a square is length times width. So all you're going to do is 3x squared y to the 4th times 3x squared y to the 4th, and then just multiply them. Multiply your coefficients, and then add your exponents, and then you're done. So on 7, what is the range? Remember, range is y. What is the range of the function shown here? So if you remember, like domain is from left to right, range is from bottom to top. So look, there's nothing down here, nothing, 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 and then here's the lowest point right down here, and then it keeps going on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So my range, that's y, and it can't go lower than this point right here, which is at 1, 2, 3, but anything above 3. So you're going to put greater than or equal to 3, because any point above 3, that's the range. Okay? And if for some reason you'll see one later ask for the domain, domain for something like this is from left to right. So the furthest left point is here, but not really, it goes on forever, and the furthest right point is here, but not really, it goes on forever. So the domain for this one would be all real numbers. So those are those ones. On 8, it asks you a bunch of different questions. Axis of symmetry, vertex, x-intercepts, y-intercepts, and solutions. What I'd recommend doing for you guys, there's a mathematical ways to do this, but if you graph this equation, you can find all this stuff. So remember the vertex, that's the highest, the high or a low point. So basically take this and graph in your calculator. I can't project my calculator with this software, so just do that though. And then you can graph it, and when you do, it should look like this. And then it'll look, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, it's actually right here. Let me erase that guy. And then it'll look something, I don't know, something like this. Like that down there. Alright? Remember, solutions and x-intercepts, those are the same things. Remember, roots, zeros, x-intercepts, and solutions, you just find where they cross, which, if you do this work in the calculator, would be -1 and -4. So both of those are work. The y-intercept we can see from the equation. The y-intercept is just this last guy here, so that's +4 right there. The vertex and the axis of symmetry are the same. So you could use your calculator and do the second trace and find your vertex, or remember vertex is opposite b over 2a. Alright, so if you could do all that work, you can check your answer key and see if that's right. But that will at least get you started on that problem. Alright, number 9. Paula owns 25 pairs of shoes. The number of dress shoes is 3 more than twice the number of casual shoes. What system, so remember system means 2 equations, can describe the dress shoes, which is D, and the casual shoes, which is C. So she has a total of 25 pairs. So that means dress shoes plus casual shoes equals 25. Dress shoes plus casual shoes equals 25. And then here it says dress shoes is 3 more than twice the casual. So dress shoes is 3 more than twice the casual. It's always best to deal with the twice stuff first. So twice means times 2. So 2 times the casual, and then 3 more than that, so that's +3. And that's all you have to do on that one. It's not asking you to solve it, it's just asking you to write it. On number 10, the dimensions of a rectangle are 4x plus 3 and 3x minus 8. What expression best describes the area? I'm not going to do this full out for you, but area just means these two things multiplied. So 4x plus 3 times 3x minus 8. And do your FOIL and double distribution, and you should get your answer, no problem. Okay, so that's 10. 11. Super Gamer Corporation can produce 350 gaming systems per day. If 25,000 systems are needed for the holiday season, what is a reasonable number of days to meet the quota? So we can write an equation. It's 350 per day, and it needs to be 25. Oh, wrong comma, I'm sorry. 25,000, not 2,500. 25,000. So a reasonable number of days. So in order to do that, we're just going to divide by 350. And that goes away. And if you do 25,000 divided by 350, you get about 71.4. 0.4285, blah, blah, blah. Keeps going. Well, we're not going to do that. It says reasonable number of days. So in 71 days, they won't have enough. So it's actually going to be 72 days that they would need to make at least that much. Alright. For number 12, you have your answer on the answer key. But what I would just tell you is to graph this in the calculator. Graph in the calculator. And then remember, domain is from left to right. So just see from left to right what it is. Okay? 13, I'm also not going to do for you full out, but it's just like 10 here. So it says a square, and it has that as a side length, and it wants the area. Area is length times width, but if it's a square, it's the exact same thing. So you're just going to do 4x minus 3 times 4x minus 3. FOIL or double distribution, and you should be able to get your answer. Number 14. This is adding and subtracting polynomials. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this first part. 3x squared minus 4x plus 6. And then I'm going to distribute this negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. And then we combine our like terms. 3x squared minus 5x squared is negative 2x squared. Remember, when you add or subtract, your exponents stay the same. Negative 4x plus 5x is a positive 1x. So you could put a 1 there or not. And then 6 minus 3 is a positive 3. That's good. Okay, 15, factor. This is actually going to take a tiny bit of work here. So the first thing we're going to do is, you can't factor with a negative in front of it. So I'm going to take out a negative 1 from that whole thing. So negative divided by negative is a positive 8x squared. Positive divided by negative is a negative 22x. Negative divided by negative is a positive 15. So from here, if I'm going to factor, I need to factor using SFFP. So My sum is the middle number, which is negative 22. Your product, if you remember, is the first number times the last number. So basically 8 times 15. This 8 times this 15, that's a positive 120. So I need to find two numbers that multiply to 120 that add or subtract to 22. Well, you could try a whole bunch of different stuff, but when you basically get there, you're going to get 10 and 12, because 10 times 12 is 120, and negative 10 minus 12 is negative 22. Okay, so I'm going to do negative 10 and negative 12. So we're going to write this all out. 8x squared minus 10x minus 12x plus 15. And then we group and solve. No, what's up? Okay, so we're going to take out our greatest common factors here, which are between 8 and 10, your greatest common factor is going to be 2. So we take out 2x here. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. The greatest common factor between 12 and 15 is 3. Since this is a negative, we're going to take out negative 3. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is 4. Positive 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. Okay? So if you write all that down, I'm actually going to write it up here so you can actually see my answer, is you have 4x minus 5. Then you have 2x minus 3. And at the very end, you can also write that negative 1 right there in front that we took out at the beginning. That's a trickier problem, guys, so be careful with that kind of stuff with the factoring that you're going to be doing. Okay, so I'm not going to do 16 and 17 for you, just basically writing equations or solving them or that kind of good stuff. On 18, what is the solution to those linear equations? You're just going to graph them, and they're already in slope-intercept form, so that's easy. Your y-intercept here is 5, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my rise over run is up 1 over 4. So up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, and the opposite. And you can draw a line here for that equation. And then this equation, my y-intercept is positive 2. And then my slope is down 1 over 2 since it's negative. So down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. And then I can do the opposite. Up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And I can actually see where they cross right there. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line anyway. Not that straight, but you'll get it. And the solution are where the lines cross. So if we count, they cross right here. And that's at negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And then positive 1, 2, 3, 4. So negative 4, 4 is where those two lines cross. Alright. 19. I'm also not going to do full out for you, but basically it gives you the line, and it says name 5 points in the solution where y is less than or equal to. Remember, less than is shaded here. Okay? So name 5 points. Oh, I'm sorry. It says name 5 points that are in the solution set. So give me 5 points that are shaded, and then 5 points that are not in the solution set. So give me 5 points that are not shaded. Okay? So 5 points in the shaded area, 5 points not in the shaded area. 20, you're just writing an equation just like one we've done before, so that's fine. 21 is a really tricky one. It's kind of a weird one. It says if y equals x to the third, what is equivalent to x to the ninth? So basically what you would do is to get from x to the ninth, a lot of people understand that to get from 3 to 9, we're going to multiply by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, right? So basically I have to multiply this by just to the third power, so we're going to do y to the third. And that's your answer. It's kind of a weird one, but there you go. I'm not going to do 22 for you because it looks a lot like number 1, so it's the same concept. 23. What expression best represents the volume of a cube with sides of 2x to the third? So volume of a cube, you can write a couple different ways, but basically it's 2xy to the third power. And then just remember this from your exponent rules. 2 to the third power is 8. And if I have an exponent on top of an exponent, I have to multiply. And these are basically exponents of 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And that's your answer right there. Okay? Number 24, you're just writing an equation. I'm not going to do that for you. Number 25, I need to graph this. So in order to graph it, I need to solve for y. So I need to subtract x on both sides. Y is less than. And you could do negative 6 minus x. Or negative x minus 6. Either way is fine. And then I have no number to divide by y with, so I'm good there. So let me graph it. My y-intercept is negative 6, So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And my slope is negative 1, which basically means down 1 over 1. So down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Basically like a diagonal line. And then remember, if it's this symbol, it's going to be a dashed line. So we dash it. It's a dashed line, and it's less than, so we shade below. There you go. Okay? 26, easy question. In the graph of the function y equals x squared plus 5, describe the shift in the vertex of the parabola if the function in the function 5 is changed to negative 2. So all it's saying is basically what would happen if 5 was changed to negative 2. So you could, in your calculator, graph x squared plus 5, and then x squared minus 2, and basically tell me what happens. And all that happens is basically if it was at 5, and now it's at negative 2, it's going to go down, right? It's going to go down, and it's going to go down 7. Okay? So if it was at 5, and now it's at negative 2, it's going to shift down 7. That's all it's asking. For 27, when graphed, which function would appear to be shifted 2 units up? 2 units up from this graph. So basically, you're here, you go up 2. Right there, and then that's basically the line that you're going to have. So they might ask for that, or they might ask for, if I shifted this up, it's going to be x squared plus 3. Because this is a number that makes it move up or down. So one of the two different things there. And you can just graph that in the calculator and see what it looks like. Same with 28. I'm not going to do that for you, but graph them in the calculator, see which one is the widest. A lot of calculator stuff here. Alright, so for 29 and 30, when you're trying to find roots, you can do two things. You can factor and solve, or you can just type them in the calculator and go to y equals. So here, you could factor this, and if you factor that, you'd get x minus 2, x minus 1, and then you set them both equal to 0, and solve it. So we add 2 on both sides, so x equals 2. You add 1 on both sides, you get x equals 1. And if you were to graph this equation in the calculator, it would cross the x-axis at 2 and 1. So graph it or factor it. Same with 30. Exact same concept. Alright, 31. We're getting close to being done here. This one, we said it in class, but it doesn't say it on here. Basically, I want you to list the domain. Give me the domain for this guy. Because it doesn't really tell you, it doesn't give you a question. So your domain here, from left to right, the furthest left it goes is right here, which is at 0, and the furthest right it goes is at 6. So just like we did on our previous one, it's from 0 to 6. From 0 to 6, that's all it's asking. Okay? 32 is asking you to simplify. So for that one, it's like number 1 that you've done before, but I'll go with it. When you multiply, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And when you multiply, you add your exponents. So, negative 2, this is negative 2 and a positive 6. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. And 4 plus negative 7 is negative 3. But you're not really allowed to have negative exponents if you remember. Negatives are unhappy. So all this stuff I'm going to leave on top because they have positive exponents. I know you're saying, well, that 12 is negative. You're right, but it's not a negative exponent, so it's fine. And then this guy's not happy on the top, so he goes to the bottom. And there you go. Okay? I'm not going to solve 33 for you completely, but it basically says at 5 feet tall, so this is Emily, she's 5 feet tall, she casts a shadow that is 8 feet long. Okay, it's kind of like a triangle here. So, she's standing next to a tree, here's the tree, and the shadow is 28 feet long. And it wants to know how tall this tree is. So this is just a proportion. You could set it up a bunch of different ways, depending on how you want to set it up. You can basically do like 5 over 8 equals x over 28, and then just cross multiply and solve. That'd be the best way. 34 I'm sure you can figure out by yourself. 35 I'm also not going to do for you, but it's like the other ones. You can either factor this, or you can go to y equals and graph it, and then find your x-intercepts. Remember, roots, zeros, x-intercepts, and solutions are all the same thing. On 26, this one's a little trickier, so let me go over this one for a second. In the quadratic equation, x squared minus x plus c, c represents an unknown constant, so unknown number. If x equals negative 3 is one of the solutions to this equation, what is the value of c? So this is a tricky one for sure. I think I have a star on it somewhere. But let's talk about this. If one of the solutions is x equals 3, that means one of the numbers was x plus 3. Because if I did x plus 3 equals 0, I would subtract 3 and I would get negative 3 there. So I need to figure out what this multiplies to get x squared minus x plus something. Okay? So I know this is going to be x, because x times x is x squared. And I know we're going to get 3 times x. So what number here can I add to 3 to get to negative 1? Because remember, my sum is negative 1. So 3 plus what is negative 1? Well, the only answer there is 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. And that works out, because x times x is x squared, x times negative 4 is negative 4x, 3 times x is positive 3x, so you get that negative x there. So then basically if I have these two numbers, when I multiply them, what am I going to get for this number here? Well, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Tricky one for sure. Okay? 37, factor completely. We're just taking out a greatest common factor. Greatest common factor between 15 and 30 is 15. And then they all have at least one x, they all have at least two x's, but they don't all have at least three x's. So I take out two x's, and they don't all have y's, so I can't take out a y. 15 divided by 15 is just 1. You could put a 1 there or not. And if I have 3 x's and I take 2 away, I still have 1. 30 divided by 15 is negative 2. If I have 2 x's and I take 2 x's away, I don't have any x's anymore, but I still have that y there. And the last one for 38, all it's asking for is, given this, they want you to simplify it. So on your own, I'm not going to do it for you the whole way. Break up 56 and simplify it, and simplify that for me, please. So, all second semester content on this final exam for the spring. If you have any questions, always, of course, we'll talk to your algebra teacher. But there you go.